Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for coming to help us celebrate Dr. George Lazarus at this wonderful gala this evening. He is one of the most prominent pediatricians in New York for now 3 generations, and just as important, has been one of the most important collaborating scholars with us as we tried to found and develop the science of gender-specific medicine. Would you tell me what you feel is the most exciting thing about treating children?
The best thing about my practice has been the long-term relationships that I have with patients and their families. As you know, I will continue to see my patients until they turn 30. And so there's plenty of time to develop relationships that are characterized by trust and comfort. And I have a lot of second-generation patients now, where mother or father was my patient, and now they're bringing their children to me.
I'll bet you're used to getting picked up like that, right?
Yeah.
Huh? Your sister?
With the older children, well, all the children, I usually greet them with a big hug. And with the older ones, I'll usually explain to them that the hug is actually a very important part of the visit, because that's why I keep coming to work, because I basically work for hugs. One of the really nice things about what I do is it allows me to still feel young. When you spend all day with young people, as long as I'm looking at them instead of in a mirror, I can maintain the illusion that I'm one of them and that I'm young as well.
What do you think? Is it a good tummy?
No.
No? I think it's a good tummy.
No!
I met Dr. Lazarus when I was just a baby, when I had just come on this earth. He was my first doctor. He was my pediatrician all through my childhood and through my teens and into my late teens and early 20s. I thought that he was the best doctor for me in New York and had to be kind of dragged out of the waiting room kicking and screaming to move to a primary care physician. I still haven't found a better doctor than Dr. Lazarus.
What do you think are the most important differences between boys and girls?
I think that the differences between boys and girls are apparent right from the beginning at birth. So as you know, growth charts, standard thing in pediatrics, we have different growth charts for babies from the minute they're born for boys and girls. There are differences in size, there are differences in growth, there are differences in growth patterns. There are differences in how they react to different diseases. So for instance, right at birth, if there's a premature baby who has respiratory distress syndrome, or premature disease of the lung, that affects males more severely, and that's a big problem in neonatology. Attention deficit disorder, a common thing that affects children, is very different in boys and girls. Boys with attention deficit disorder tend to be, or are often hyperactive. So they're disruptive in school. Therefore, they will call attention to themselves. The teacher will have difficulty with them. The teacher will call the parent will call the pediatrician. The child will be identified and treated. Girls with attention deficit disorder are usually not hyperactive. They're very well behaved. They sit still, they mind their own business, and they're quiet, but they're inattentive. They have trouble concentrating, they have trouble focusing, but they don't cause trouble. So they don't tend to be discovered until later, by which time they may have fallen further behind academically.
I think I will leave Dr. Lazarus when Veronica and Dr. Lazarus kicked me out. The last time I made an appointment a couple months ago, I said to Veronica, all right, I think I'm making my last appointment. She said, why? I said, well, I'm 25. She goes, oh, please, you got till you're 30. So I guess a few more years.
You told a wonderful story about parents who were determined to bring up their little girl with the same opportunities that they had offered their son and gave her 3 trucks for Christmas. Want to tell us that wonderful story?
Yes, this is a true story. It's parents who were determined that boys and girls should be the same, and they should be raised the same, and so they gave the little girl, trucks to play with, like they might a little boy, as opposed to just a doll. So they gave the girl the trucks. The girl went upstairs to her bedroom, and after a while, they said, let's just see how she's doing. It was very quiet upstairs. So they went upstairs to the girl's bedroom, and they entered the room, and the girl said, they're sleeping. And there in the bed were the 3 trucks lined up with a blanket pulled over the top half of the trucks and they were sleeping side by side. So she was going to have dolls, whether they gave her trucks or not.
Do you think gender-specific medicine is a legitimate discipline, or do you think it's sort of a dreamed-up concept that has no validity beyond pediatrics, say?
There are obviously major differences medically, physiologically, between men and women. This is being appreciated more than it was when I was a medical student. And when I read the general medical literature, articles always point out differences in the prevalence of disease between men and women. They will say this condition occurs
Forever.
70% of the time in men, 30% in women, or the reverse. Sometimes, of course, it's 50-50. But when there is a gender disparity, there's almost never an explanation of why that
Correct.
gender disparity exists. So gender-specific medicine, if it means understanding those differences, and if it leads to better care for people of both sexes, regardless of age, is not a niche area, it's just good medicine.
I can't thank you enough for agreeing to be with us this evening and helping us all with your scholarship over the past 25 years. This was, as Descartes might have said, a dream in the mind of a dog when we first began the idea of gender-specific medicine. And as you know, it comes literally from the heart and the studies that we started at Columbia in heart disease and the differences between men and women.
Well,
And
it's been a great pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming, and we hope you will celebrate Dr. Lazarus' achievements along with us for the rest of the evening.
We love Dr. Lazarus because he's sweet and kind, and he makes us feel better.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for visiting me.